Hello again. I'm Dr. Nunez with Living Health. Today I wanted to review the latest updates of the American Heart Association's dietary guidelines. Now, this is the first update they've done, the most comprehensive update they've done in 15 years. That's quite a long time. And this series of talks that I've been doing are on lifestyle, and a big component of lifestyle is nutrition, what you eat on a daily basis. Now, lifestyle is part of what we call lifestyle medicine. It's an area of medicine that we look at how lifestyle impacts your health and well-being. Now, lifestyle, your choices, these are things that you have control over, can impact something on the order of 80% of chronic diseases out there. So it is something that you yourself can take action with, that you can modify on your own, and that you have control over in a very big way. Now, this area that we're talking about today from the American Heart Association is just on the area of nutrition. There are other areas of lifestyle medicine that include sleep, exercise, avoiding toxic substances, stressing less, being more socially connected, and the like. So nutrition is one component. It's a very important component. So without further ado, let's just get into what the American Heart Association published. They have their journal. It's called Circulation, and they put this out just in early November of 2021. I'm going to go over just a few of their points, and I'll comment one by one. They listed 10 points on each of these for you. So number one, they say, adjust energy intake and expenditure to achieve and maintain a healthy body weight. Okay, that's basically calorie counting. Basically, if you're expending 2,000 calories a day just being alive and doing some exercise, well, don't take in more than 2,000 calories a day. And there are several meters out there, calculations that you could do on what your base metabolic rate is, and then you could add exercise to that, and those calculators that you can find online will tell you more or less what your metabolic rate is and what you're burning every day. And so to try to keep below that. There's nothing too complicated about that one. Number two, eat plenty and a variety of fruits and vegetables. So this is something that we've talked about in other talks here on plant predominant eating, plant-based eating. Yes, the trend, the data seems to be increasingly pointing towards that we should be eating more plant foods, fruits and vegetables, unprocessed fruits and vegetables, and less of the animal products, be they meat or dairy or eggs or those kinds of things. Now, the caution here is it does say plenty of fruits and vegetables. Okay, so you can't eat grains. You have to be careful with that. If you're eating processed grains, you're gonna get a high glycemic index. You can get into trouble. You can do that in moderation. It's always best to go with the whole grains. If you're gonna eat nuts, nuts are at the very pinnacle. They are oily, so they do have a lot of calories, and that might eat into the first area here. And then there are the issues of processing your fruits and veggies. So it's best that you eat them as minimally processed or as unprocessed as possible. And I tell people the things most folks have done that is processing a fruit, for instance, is juicing it. So it's much better for you to eat an orange than to squeeze the orange and drink the juice. You are getting rid of fiber and other phytonutrients in an orange if you're just doing that. And you are concentrating the sugar in the orange, which is not the greatest thing. And the same like an apple. It's much better to eat an apple than to drink apple juice, which just concentrates the sugar from an apple. And that's another point on sugar. Sugar, yes, is from sugarcane or other vegetable sources, but it is a highly processed thing, and it's something to really limit or avoid. So let's move on to number three. Choose whole grain foods and products. That's what we were talking about with the grains now. Yes, not the process. So it's a white flour, for instance, it's better to go with whole wheat. So your pastas, whole wheat if you're going to have that. If you're going to have bread, whole grain kind of breads. Why? Because you're, again, leaving in the food the fiber and other phytonutrients that are found there. So it's better not to get rid of those, but to keep those as part of the nutrition. Again, the area of grains in moderation. If you have oatmeal and you put on it brown sugar and maple syrup, you're loading up on a lot of simple carbohydrates there, a lot of sugar, and it's best to avoid that kind of thing. But you could take oatmeal and maybe put some berries in it or the like, and now you're shifting it. So you're getting a whole vegetable in with your whole grain, for instance. That's a good example there. Let's move on to number 4. Choose healthy sources of protein, mostly plants, regular intake of fish and seafood, low fat or fat-free dairy products, and if meat or poultry is desired, choose lean cuts and unprocessed forms. Okay, what are unprocessed forms? When you're processing meats, that means things like salamis and pepperonis, cured meats, sausages, those kinds of things. So avoid those and go more towards the whole end. Again, I want to emphasize here, it starts with mostly plants. And you don't need to eat any animals or any animal sources to get enough protein in your diet. Some people think, oh, I need to add some kind of meat in order to get my protein. Or you go to a restaurant and you order a salad and the waiter asks you, oh, do you want some protein on that? Well, you don't need to put a chicken breast on there or a piece of fish on there to get protein with a salad. You could do that with legumes, with beans. You could do it with nuts. You could, depends on what you put in the salad. If you have broccoli in the salad, if you have some other vegetables in the salad that are very high in protein as well, be they cruciferous vegetables, asparagus, or cauliflower, or the broccoli that I just mentioned. So again, remember, you can get your protein from plant-based sources. You don't need to eat the meats. And of that list of things that you can have in there, I would tell you, in the animal world, eating the fish is probably the healthiest of those animal world meats. So, and yes, if you do go into red meats, I always tell people grass-fed, grass-finished, it's going to be healthier than your grain-fed or your heavily marbled cuts of beef. So you don't have to be vegan. If you are vegan, congratulations, that is great. Don't go start eating meats, you don't need to. If you're a carnivore, you probably do need to start backing down on the amount of meat you're eating in a week. And you could do it in a stepwise fashion. You don't have to feel deprived about this. You could reduce 1 serving of meat a week and replace it with something in the vegetable or fruit world and see how it goes, and then gradually make a shift, reduce your portion size of meat, or start switching over if you're eating grain-fed beef over into grass-fed. You make gradual changes, you could adjust to this. What you'll notice will also happen is that as you eat more plants, you're going to have more fiber in your system. You're going to be more full, and you'll just naturally eat less of these other things. And then it says about the dairy, they're low fat and fat free. Yes, otherwise you could just get rid of the dairy in general, or you could use dairy substitutes, be they the nut milks that are out there. There are all these now plant-based dairy-like drinks that you could have. They're probably going to be healthier anyway than dairy. When you're taking away the fat from dairy anyway, you're further processing it, so it's best probably just to avoid that. So moving on, number 5, it says use liquid plant oils rather than tropical oils and partially hydrogenated fats. What does that mean? I was asked this question the other day. Good rule of thumb, look, if you leave some oil on your counter and it solidifies, or you put it, or it just cools down around 70 degrees or so, and it solidifies, that's probably not the oil you want to use. So yes, there are vegetable oils like canola or olive oil or things like this that are healthy. Things that solidify, even if they're plant-based, like a coconut oil, you should be very careful with. Some of those are saturated fats or hydrogenated fats, partially or fully, and just be careful with that. That's what they mean by the liquid oils, and that's a good rule of thumb. Number 6, choose minimally processed foods instead of the ultra-processed foods. Yes, so like we were saying, fruits and vegetables, plants, it's better off if you cook these yourself, you prepare them yourself at home, rather than go forward and buy things that might be fast food or the like. A good example, for instance, is those cheese slices that are used on, that melt very easily and are used on cheeseburgers and the like. That's a highly processed and salt-rich, ultra-processed food. So be careful with those kinds of things. And as you move in the spectrum towards the plants, you will naturally also go more towards whole foods that are minimally processed. As you move away from going and eating out or using fast food to preparing your own food, you're going to naturally move towards less processed foods. Okay, so let's move on from that. We're on number 7. Minimize the intake of beverages and foods with added sugars. What's more to say there? Sodas that have added sugar, sweet tea that has a bunch of sugar in it. Just be careful with those things. You really shouldn't be adding sugar to things, and you shouldn't be using sugar as a sweetener anyway. You should try to avoid that, and your palate will eventually start to get used to eating or drinking things that don't have the sugar in them, because you're better off just drinking water. If initially you don't like the flavor of it, sometimes you can squeeze a little citrus, just a few drops of lime or lemon, and it changes the flavor enough and makes it more palatable if you're not used to hydrating and drinking water as regularly. So yes, avoid the sugars. Moving on to number 8, choose and prepare foods with little or no salt. Yeah, many foods today have a lot of salt already, especially if you're eating out or you're eating fast food or the like. As you prepare the food yourself, just be judicious with how you use salt, and maybe use other things to give flavor to food. Many of the herbs are healthy, and they add a big punch of flavor. So maybe you should try to look at that as another option. Instead of salt. Again, we usually tell you, and I've spoken in the other talks about the DASH diet, which is low in sodium, no more than 2 grams of sodium or 1.5 grams of sodium in your nutrition on a daily basis. So look at that and see how you can reduce that intake. Number 9, if you do not drink alcohol, do not start. If you choose to drink alcohol, limit intake. Okay, I have a talk about alcohol also. So yes, alcohol may have some health benefits for some people that drink it culturally and very judiciously in the Mediterranean or other cultures and the like. Don't overdo the alcohol. If you're not a drinker, there is no reason to start drinking. If you are a drinker, you should be trying to probably not exceed 3 drinks a day is pretty much the limit of what can judiciously be consumed. And again, it depends on the culture, and depends on the individual, your size, your weight, how much you may get away with drinking. And there might be some studies out there that show a little bit of benefit to some of that, but it is definitely not worth starting to drink if you don't drink. So, and let's see, are we at 10? We're at 10, the last one. Adhere to this guidance regardless of where food is prepared or consumed. So again, just if you are at a restaurant, try to stick to these guidelines. Try to go with the plants instead of the more processed foods or the meats. So just think about that, and if you can realign yourself so when you are out, or even if you're at a fast food place, maybe you can get the salad, or you can, if you're at a fast food place for breakfast, you can get the oatmeal. And you can start to avoid some of the other choices and make better choices. Again, This is just one area. Nutrition is one area of lifestyle medicine. It is an area you have a lot of control over. So I want to emphasize this is one component of lifestyle medicine. This is something you can do for yourself that you have control over. There's a lot of benefits to this. I'm putting the link to the article below. And when you click on it, there's a PDF link, and it gives you also the full article if you want to read it and go into greater detail. And you'll see all the health benefits associated with really what amounts to eating mostly plants and less of other stuff. And again, if you're a carnivore or you really like some meats, don't feel that you have to become a vegan. Just reducing your meat intake may be sufficient, and you'll probably start to see already benefits from that. If you are a vegan, congratulations. Please, you don't have to add meat to get your protein or anything like that, and you know that already. So again, until next time, I'm Dr. Nunez with Living Health. Bye-bye.